Happy holidays, healthy bakers. Dr. Alexis here. We are about to make some deliciously clean gingerbread. So I've got all my dry ingredients here: our flour swap, salt, baking soda, cloves, cinnamon, ginger, and granular sugar swap. And I'm going to mix all of the dry ingredients well till no lumps remain. Next, we've got our egg swap. Remember to reconstitute your egg swap with very hot water. There's a 1/3 cup of well-stirred room temperature butter swap. Remember, if your butter swap separates, that's normal. Go ahead and put the entire jar in a blender, blend it until smooth, and it'll stay nice and creamy for a couple months. Finally, we've got 4 tablespoons of molasses. I'm using unsulfured organic molasses, and this is one of the very few recipes that will actually use anything that is a rapidly digesting carbohydrate. With the gingerbread, it's almost impossible to get that same flavor without using just a little bit of molasses. So this is kind of the bare minimum to get that nice gingerbread classic feel and taste. Now we'll go ahead and mix our wet and dry ingredients together until we have a nice smooth batter. And this first demo is with the grain-free flour swap. So always when we're baking grain-free, the batter is going to look and feel different than normal bread or cake batter. It's going to be a little more dry, a little more crumbly. Don't worry, the finished result is still going to come out amazing. You're also going to get a nice keto, low carb, paleo version of your favorite dessert. Now, if you are a diabetic and you're doing this gingerbread recipe, I would recommend not doing the molasses and just substituting the molasses with a little extra virgin olive oil, just to keep the carbs at the very minimum. So once we have a nice smooth batter, we're going to let the batter rest for about 5 minutes. That's going to allow all the fiber in the flour swap to absorb the remaining moisture. Then we'll mix for 1 more minute before we load our pan. So this is our same batter made with our whole grain flour swap. All the same ingredients. The only substitution was 1 1/2 cup of whole grain versus our grain-free over here. For our whole grain gingerbread, I'm going to use a 9x5 pan. I'm going to line it with parchment paper. And parchment paper isn't necessary. It just makes cleanup easier. If you're not using the paper, you well grease or oil your pan. And then I'm going to just pour all of my whole grain batter in the pan, smooth the top. Make sure your batter is nice and evenly distributed in your pan. And this whole grain gingerbread loaf is going to bake for about 40 to 45 minutes at 350 degrees. We're going to bake our grain-free gingerbread in a 9x9 pan. I've got my parchment paper. I'll go ahead and fold the batter in the pan. And then I use my clean hands to just press this evenly into my baking pan. When you're doing grain-free baking, you'll get a lot more even cakes and breads if you make a just more flat, more thin dessert. Still tastes perfect, great texture. You're just going to get more even baking by using a larger, flatter pan. I've got my oven heated up, 350 degrees, and I'm going to bake this 9x9 loaf for about 25 minutes. We've got our grain-free 9x9 loaf of healthy gingerbread here. And then we've got our nice big 9 by 5 loaf of whole grain gingerbread.